Hello and welcome to King Dante's Civilization 6 YouTube channel. Today I'm going to discuss how good Robert the Bruce's Scotland is in Civ 6 Rise and Fall. So, Scotland is one of the new civilizations introduced into Civilization 6 Rise and Fall's expansion. So I'll first discuss each of the abilities in turn, and then we'll discuss sort of an overview of how good Scotland is compared to the other civilizations. So the first ability that is mentioned is Bannockburn. So Robert can declare a war of liberation after gaining the defensive tactics civic, which gives him 100% production and +2 movement for the first 10 turns after declaring a war of liberation. So there's two aspects here. One, the additional production will allow Robert to both increase his military size, and the increased movement speed allows him to be very effective right at the beginning of the war. So if you're actually trying to be aggressive and take over new land, this ability can allow you to do so with a major amount of surprise. That movement speed, even though it doesn't come with additional strength, can be overwhelming. If you come in with cavalry or tanks and rush into someone's territory, those speed units with 4 or 5 movement speed normally are now 6 and 7 movement speed. That can be overwhelming, especially if you're going against some ranged units, some artillery. You can quickly come in and have like a blitzkrieg attack on someone before they can respond. Meanwhile, the production bonus, plus 100% production bonus, has some other uses. If you're attempting to launch the satellites and launch your spaceship to win a science victory, you can then declare a war of liberation just towards the end of the game in order to, one, protect your civilization and, be aggressive on other people instead of allowing them to attack you first. And that also grants you that 100% production, doubling your speed at which you can complete those final science production achievements. So the next ability, Scotland's main ability, is probably the most important ability of this civilization, and it's also the most powerful. So happy cities receive an additional 5% science and 5% production, and the happy cities also generate +1 great scientist per campus and +1 great engineer point per industrial zone. The static cities double all these amounts, which that means is that if your city has between 1 or 2 amenities more than you need, then your city is happy. And if your city has 3 amenities more than you need or more, then your city is static. And so you're trying to build up amenities in your cities. And so if we take a second and look at this city that I have here, just capital, I just founded this on the first turn, we can pull up the amenities and see that you have currently 1 amenity because it's your capital out of 0 required. And what we have here is then your city starts out happy. So you have normally, if for everyone else in the game, you get +10% citizen growth, which means instead of +3 food, because you have 3 extra food, you have plus 3.3, and plus 5% to all non-food yields. So that's culture, science, so you have culture, science, production, faith, and gold. So you can see with gold, plus 5%, and that's due to being happy. With culture, plus 5%, that's due to being happy. But if you go to production and science, you have plus 10% due to being happy, and plus 10% due to being happy. So you get that additional 5%, which can make an incredibly large difference, because you're already seeing that's plus 0.2 to your plus 0.3 to production, plus 0.2 to science, which really adds up. I mean, that's like 10% of your total science production right now is because of this. Now, it's plus 10% obviously because that's what your cities are production, but 10% at this point in the game is a huge amount. 10% at any point in the game is a huge amount. So you're going to be vastly more scientific production focused than any other civ, and you're going to get it for free because you're always going to want your citizens to be happy to get these extra bonuses. So it's just encouraging you to do more of what you're doing. In addition, the other aspect of this is the great person points. So normally when you build an industrial zone district, you're going to get 1 great engineer point per turn. But with Scotland, you can get 2 or even 3 great engineer points per turn. So you could have triple the great engineer point production just from having your districts without building any other buildings within them, and in both your great engineers and great scientists. So the way that Civilization 6 is structured is the best great people are your scientists, your merchants, and your engineers. And so for 2 out of 3 of those to have the most great people production points out of everyone in the game is astronomical, because you're going to have more great engineers and more great scientists than anyone else, because you're automatically going to be wanting to build industrial zones and campuses. That's how you win the game, is you need more production. You always need more production than you have, and you need more science. There's science and production that's useful for all victory primes, because if you're further ahead in science, you can win more with military. If you're further ahead in science, then that allows you to focus additional resources on culture to help you with a culture victory, or to build the culture buildings that give you more tourism. Build more wonders before other people. The production helps you build wonders before other people. Science and production obviously help you win the science victory condition. They can also help with the religious victory condition, as you're now able to be further along and have access to more of those buildings. You get the temple earlier. You get all these things quicker. And it essentially allows you to play the game at a faster speed than any of the other civilizations. Again, this ability, Scottish Enlightenment, is the core ability of the whole Civ, and it makes you absolutely better in just the basic peaceful gameplay of every civilization in the game. Scotland's really powerful from this. So if we go look at Highlander, open the Civilopedia here, and I'll do Highlander. So one of the things you'll see here is, so this is an industrial area unit that replaces the ranger. So what you're doing is you're upgrading from scouts. Now, at the beginning of the game, you're going to be wanting to produce a lot of scouts anyway. So you're going to have scouts, because you're going to hear one of your first things you want to produce is scouts. Why? Because you need to search out the world. You need to go find tribal villages. You need to find city-states before other people to get those free points. And you're going to be producing scouts. So maybe you might have 1, 2, or 3 scouts early in the game. And it'd be nice to have a unit that's nice to upgrade them into, and that's exactly what our Highlander is. So your Highlander, again, if we look here, is upgraded from scouts. They have 50 melee strength and 65 range strength. That compares very favorably to what they replaced. So they replaced the ranger, which is 45 melee strength and 60 range strength. So they're 5 stronger to start off with on both melee and range strength. In addition, they get 5 more combat strength if they're fighting in hills or forests. So your scouts are probably going to have the upgrade that says they get additional double movement speed while in hills and forests. That's the first things you're going to want to upgrade. So now you have those double movement speed. You have plus 5 combat strength in hills and forests. So now you have 55 melee strength and 70 range strength. This is for the industrial area. So you're a whole area above what you would normally have. So if we look in the research tree and where this comes, you get this at rifling. Okay, so this is your Highlander right here. So your Highlanders are going to have 3 movement speed, but they're going to have 10 more range strength than the field cannons, which you get just 1 tech before. And they're going to be very similar to infantry, which cost way more production. And they're all the way in the modern era. This is a big jump in science. So you go from 1368 science, 1164. So it's 200 more science to get to that next spot. In addition, you have to fill out more of the tree. And infantry are a huge aspect of the game there. So now you have a ranged unit with 3 movement speed that can produce at range strength 70 when they're in the hills. They're going to have double movement in those things because you're going to have those upgrades from your scouts, which you'll have done early in the game. And all of a sudden, you hit industrial right when the game's starting to move really quickly, and you have a great unit. This can be used defensively, but can also be used aggressively if you really want to. Again, you combine that with your plus 2 movement speed on attack, and now you have a 5 movement, 70 range strength unit that can come in and just blitz people. So they're powerful, but they're not overpowered. They're just a strong, unique unit, which is nice to have. So I wouldn't say that's a major defining reason to have them, but they're a nice bonus to put into this Civ. Golf courses are very important. Golf courses is really where the civilization comes together in combination with Scottish Enlightenment. And you'll see here, this is a unique improvement. So you can improve it on a tile. And what you're going to want to do is sandwich them between entertainment complexes and city center districts, because you get +1 culture if you're next to your city center and an additional culture if you're next to your entertainment complex district. So, but the key aspect is this amenities. So what you're doing with Scotland is you want your cities to be happy because it's giving you additional production and additional science than anyone else in the game who's happy. And this gives you +1 amenity to do so. So while everyone else is happy, you might be ecstatic. And while everyone else has just a normal level of happiness, your cities might be happy because you're able to build this golf course. You can only build one per city, but you now have an additional amenity that no one else in the game can get. But it's not like you're wasting this tile, because you get 1 amenity, 2 gold. If you set it up right, you'll have 2 culture. So you'll have 1 amenity, 2 gold, 2 culture, and you also get tourism and happiness, or tourism and housing as you go along in the game. But it doesn't stop there. You also have 1 extra appeal for this for the surrounding area because you have this tile now. So you're going to bring additional appeal to your area, and you're going to have like 2 food, 2 food, 2 culture, 2 gold. You know, like these cities set up well to get this extra stuff, and then you're also going to just straight up boost. It's like an extra. It should also just say +5% to culture and, or +5% to science and production. It doesn't, but that's essentially what you're doing. This improvement says +5% production, +5% science in this city. What kind of other improvement can do any remotely close thing to that? Very powerful. So essentially what we have with Scotland is we have a peaceful civilization that is given bonuses to a unit that can help you defend yourself, and bonuses that you can use to attack as well, on top of the single best peaceful bonus that you have in the game. This can add up to a huge amount, and it's one of those things that's going to be seamless. As you're playing this civ, you're just going to have more science and you're going to have more production. So the whole game is just going to run smoother. It's not like you're doing any one in particular thing where you have a big boost here or a big boost there. It's just everything's going to flow together well. So you're going to play a really nice game, and it's going to make you really strong as the game goes along. I'd say at current release, this is probably overpowered. The way they've structured it, it's hard to balance it. Maybe they just do +1 for both happy or ecstatic on these great people points, but they're really powerful. I've seen them in action already, and they can make a huge difference. But the fact that you have a unique improvement that can help make sure your cities stay happy just makes this an overall well-rounded civ, but also extremely reliable. You're going to activate this ability all the time. It activates from the very moment you found your first city. It's going to be a happy city. You're going to get this additional science and additional production that helps you just have a smooth, well-played game. Definitely one of the top tier civs. So that just about covers Scotland. Please consider subscribing to the channel so you can get more videos just like this.